hope everybody's dry out there. Of course, it was a rainy night here in central Alabama, but hey, no harm, no foul. We're ready to go with a Thursday edition of Longshore and McKnight. As you can see, we're in two different locations. I'm going to try to guess where Barry is. I'm at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, Alabama.
You can tell where you are. Boy, that's a good-looking vehicle behind you.
Yeah,
no question about that.
Not that bad.
That'll get you around. That'll take care of business right there. I am in Lafayette, Louisiana.
All right.
For the last day. Tomorrow we'll do this show. I'll do the show from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and then back home. Troy Trojans were a winner last night over the Louisiana Raging Cajuns 74-56 over Louisiana. And that sets Troy up now in second place in the Sun Belt Conference. They go to first place, Arkansas State, Saturday night at 7 o'clock. That'll be on ES2. So a nationally televised game for Troy coming up. It's a big one. What that is, of course, in 2 days. So we've got 2 days of travel and practice before we get there. So there's
we can watch Auburn at Alabama at 3 and then get ready for Troy and Arkansas State that evening. Yeah.
Now you're thinking right. There you go. I like it. But that's not the only opportunity that you've got. You got an opportunity right now and through the weekend at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram that, quite frankly, John, you don't need to pass up, right?
No, you don't. I'm looking at the lot right here, right now, when we're talking about Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram truck dealer. Think about that. There are a lot of Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram stores across Alabama and Northwest Florida. They sell more right here in Prattville. Why? Because Price sells Ram trucks, and they've got the inventory. They got what you're looking for in types of color, trim packages, 2-door, 4-door, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. A 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie, up to $25,000 off, Barry. Up to $25,000 off. That's unbelievable. You can get a Ram 1500 Bighorn for $499 a month lease. How about that? Unbelievable. So they've got your Ram, whether it's a 1500, a 2500, or a 3500. If you have some, construction business, agriculture, anything that you really need a big truck, they got the entire Ram lineup here for you.
Every one of them. And the reason why they have the entire lineup and a lot of every one of the entire lineup is because of what John's talking about. They sell more than anybody else in the entire area and beyond. And those discounts, those prices, those values are the reason why. Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville, where we're here on a Thursday.
Yes.
You're normally on a Friday, going Thursday today.
Yep. Thursday today, Barry. I'm traveling later today as well as you will be. So tomorrow I will be broadcasting from the nation's capital, and you will be in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Yeah, so we'll be on different parts of the map, so to speak, tomorrow. And we'll bring you, of course, previewing the big game Saturday afternoon in Tuscaloosa. I'm sure we'll do a little bit of that today with our guest lineup. Jason Caldwell at the bottom of this hour. Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, brought to you exclusively about the Destin Connection Seafood Market. And our man, Bart Heish, man, he was texting me last night, Barry. Woo! Let me tell you some of these. Let me tell you some of these games he told me I needed to take a look at. I love it because I got to tell you, Barry, if he didn't text me, I'm not so sure I'd know these games are being played.
I'm pretty sure you would not. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
St. John's, Villanova, and Texas Tech, Arizona State. Those are the two games he was watching. He texted me. He said, man, you got to check these out. These games are awesome. I went and took a look. He was right. We'll talk a little bit about those today, too.
Well, 2 overtimes in that Texas Tech Arizona State game. Arizona State is coached by Bobby Hurley, who was on those teams, those Duke teams that won back-to-back championships with Christian Laettner. But they lose last night. Texas Tech wins it 111-106 in double overtime. That's exactly the kind of game Bart Heish used to love to play in,
Oh yeah.
and exactly the sort of game that he likes to watch as well. I don't know when we have Bart on. Of course, Jason and Rodney, we're going to talk a lot of basketball. We're going to talk a lot of Auburn, Alabama with those guys. I don't know if Bart Heish has all of a sudden, if we need to have his reports sponsored by Prel Shampoo. But, man, he sent there were a few tweets from him last week after that. He said some reference to us about Prel. And me and John were like, whoa, I remember that. Do they still make Prel?
I gotta tell you, man, I didn't remember the Prel in the tube, only in the bottle.
Yeah, because the bottle in the commercial, they used to drop a pearl in it just to show how thick Prel shampoo was. And the pearl would drop real slowly down there. And that was fine. And then people bought it. People thought, hey, man, I need me a thick shampoo. Now, does thick shampoo do a diddly squat for you? I don't know. People wanted, so
figure. I thought maybe in the summer, Barry, we could find other products that are no longer available that we used to use growing up, whether it's shampoo or shaving cream. Or
it wasn't until John that I realized that they still make Bosco. I mean, I should, I guess, Yeah,
my grandmother in Kentucky, it was always Lifebuoy soap. Remember Lifebuoy?
I do remember that. That's where Ralphie got his mouth washed out with whenever he said the F dash word in the Christmas Story. Yes.
I think it was spelled Lifebouy.
Buoy. Yeah. Lifebuoy. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that at her house in the packages. So, that's just a little tidbit of maybe something later on this summer. But, the Jeep lineup, Barry's been around since the war. I mean, like probably the first one.
Serving our country.
Yes. Yeah. Did you see Harrison Ford in that commercial? It was awesome.
It was well done.
You can get the Jeep lineup right here. 17 grand off a Jeep Cherokee right here, right now. Incredible deals. Going to tell you all about the Jeep lineup today here as well at Chrysler, Stivers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram in Prattville on Cobbs Ford Road. But, man, I'm telling you, I'm looking at a lot of Jeeps right now, Barry. I love how when we come up here, they kind of shuffle the deck, if you will. They move the vehicles around. Because last week, 2 weeks ago, when we were here, there were a lot of Ram trucks in the front of the lot. Now they have a lot of Jeeps in the front of the lot. And they just move things around. So as you drive by, come onto the lot, you'll be, wow, man, look at this. They've moved some stuff around. They do that in Montgomery, too. We're real on what they've moved around since the last time we were there.
Well, they have to move it around because, John, they're moving them out. Much as anything else, they must have one guy, and this would be a really cool job. They must have one guy, his entire job, he clocks in 8 o'clock, and all he does is move vehicles off the back lot or one of the side lots because they have got a lot in the back and on the sides and just move them up to where people have already bought the other ones. That's what he does all day because, man, they do move a lot of vehicles with good reason.
Yeah, Price sells trucks. Price sells cars. Hey, way offsides, Jeff. You're right, buddy. Bosco was a big subject line on this program years ago. I love it. I think you can get it at Cracker Barrels, in their little store part before you go to the restaurant.
It's chocolate milk. It's a chocolate milk powder.
No, it's a chocolate syrup, like Hershey's.
Syrup. Okay, it's not powder. Yeah. Okay, powder was Nestle Quick.
Correct. Which is that's what a Frosty's made with, Barry. Think about it. A Wendy's Frosty tastes just like Nestle's Quick. That's the secret ingredient.
As a kid, you couldn't wait to pound down that Nestle Quick, but you had to stir it for a little while. Otherwise, you'd have lumps and stuff like that. And you little kid, you didn't want to stir it around enough. You said, that's good enough. There's only a couple of lumps. Bosco, you just pour it in, boom, there you go.
It's good stuff, way offsides, Jeff. It's hard to find.
I think that was one of those things that John brought up on the show, and the people at U.S. Foods over there just on the Selma Highway, they sent John like a crate of it or something like that. He was loaded down with Bosco. He had so much Bosco, his face was breaking out. It was unbelievable.
It was,
yeah.
whew, I was eating the Bosco back in the day, but it's good stuff. If you find some, Jeff, let me know because I want to go get some Bosco. It's been too long. All right, it's been almost 10 minutes into the program, and I've been waiting for the chat line to get going. Somebody's brought it up. Bill from Baltimore. A lot of people out there were wondering, what in the world is that on Barry's hat? Well,
that's not the little symbol that you put on an email address. It's not like Longshore and McKnight at gmail.com. It's not that. It is the by gosh throwback 1970s Biff Pocoroba era Atlanta Braves hat. This was the hat they wore, one of those sweet royal blue jerseys with the superimposed feather on the sleeves and
Chief Nakahoma in the stands under his teepee.
That was when life was right. Yes.
No kidding. No telling what Chief Nakahoma was doing in that teepee. But there again, I pose the question: what any franchise, professional or amateur, would designate their team with a lowercase letter? Nobody does that. Only a loser team like the Braves would do something like that. And every now and then they'll bring them back, and they'll bring back those god-awful light blue, powder blue uniforms. I'm just thinking, who is running the marketing campaign up there? Lowercase a. No wonder they were never any good back then.
It was because of the lowercase a. Yeah. You gotta have an uppercase A with a cursive A with a mullet on the side.
Then they copied Alabama's A, and then they said, we want to be good, so let's copy Alabama's A. And then they started going to World Series. Only different is Alabama's able to seal the deal. Braves, not so much.
Now, I am not a huge fan and never have been of the white panel on the front or the multicolored panel in the front, but this is a Braves hat, and I've had it for a little while, and I wear it with pride. It fits really well. And it's, Bill, you're right. Bill from Baltimore. Since pitchers and catchers have reported, it's time for a little Braves love here on the road. I actually made a conscious decision to pack it in my suitcase and bring it with me expressly for the purpose of wearing it on the show today.
Hey, Bill, if you wouldn't mind, can I get a weather update? I need a weather report. I'm heading up to the D.C. metro area later today. What am I in for over the next couple of days there? How should I pack? I guess give me a little weather report, Bill, since you're there in Baltimore.
John, doubtlessly flying out of the Montgomery Regional Airport. He goes there all the time. You fly into Reagan, right?
Correct.
Where golly, was it 4 years ago? 3? When all of a sudden I got a text from John with a photo attachment of him and Junior in front of an Auburn oil painting in Senator Tommy Tuberville's office.
That's true.
I mean, you talk about both John and Junior. Ear-to-ear smiles. Man, they looked good. I saved that picture. John's got great kids. But I actually also cropped out Junior just so I could send it to a couple of my buddies and say, hey, look, here's a picture of Longshore with a big smile in front of a huge Auburn oil painting. They said, no way. I said, here it is right here. Yep. You never know what happens in D.C. usually stays in D.C., but I did spread that one around a pretty good bit.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good day. I enjoyed meeting with the senator. So,
he spent a good bit of time with you, too. It wasn't like one of those meet and greets where, like, get in, shake your hand, shake Junior's hand, and shuffle you off. Did he have the notepad? Did he say, okay, now, John, what about the border? And John said, well, let me tell you, Tubbs.
It
wasn't like that.
That's what I was expecting. That's what I was expecting, Bear. Just quick photo op, shake hands, how's it going, move on. But we were in there close to an hour, and my wife was with us as well.
Oh, that's right.
It was great. It was the three of us and one of Senator Tuberville's aides. I thought was interesting because I thought, well, she's gonna, in about 5 minutes go, okay, Senator, we've got to be somewhere, but
she'll do something. They're trained to be a little bit surreptitious, like or I guess I got to go. No, she was totally fine.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, so she was in the background saying, ask him about the -3.5. Should I do it or not? Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have like this official staff photographer that comes around, and they took the pictures, and it was a great experience. I really appreciated taking the time to do that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to squeeze it in this week. I'm working on another visit, Barry. It hasn't been confirmed yet because it could be last minute, if you know what I mean.
Right.
There's a couple of other people that are visiting this particular person. I will tell you this: I won't be taking a young child in there if I do get the opportunity. Look, I ain't got any problem with Elon Musk, but Elon, you don't take your kid into the Oval Office. I mean, really. I mean, I appreciate the big, press conference and informing the nation about what's going on with Doge and cleaning up all this stuff and all this wasteful spending. But I'm sitting there looking at going, what's with the kid in the Oval Office? I mean, Trump's kind of looking at him like, could you not have left the kid outside?
No.
Really?
Hey, man, absolutely. Bring him in, why not? Why not?
Wow. Hey, you know what? I feel I like my chances, Barry. If a 4-year-old can get in, I like my chances. I think I got a good chance. We'll see.
I could just see, back in the day when they were winning championships and recruiting their brains out, John summoned into Saban's office. Say, hey, can you stop, getting behind me and all these national champs? And John showing up with one of his kids, and Saban's like, So, also, we're going to talk basketball when we come back.
We are.
A surprise, well, not surprising because the program's really, really doing well, but there was quite a bit of conversation about an Instagram post from Longshore and McKnight's account about John's hypothesis about Nate Coates and his career opportunities that he may have soon. A lot of people, it's a pretty divisive issue when John brought up his opinion. We clipped it, put it on Instagram. You can follow us on all social media, Longshore and McKnight. JJ brings it up on the chat line. We're going to bring it up as well. Plus, get you ready for the big basketball game in Tuscaloosa on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon as well.
Here's what we got working today, Barry. Jason Caldwell, 13 minutes or so from Auburn Undercover. Rodney Orr at the top of the hour, the tighter and about the Destin Connection Seafood Market. The freshest seafood direct from the Gulf is at the Destin Connection. Also, Bart Heish, our resident college basketball insider, you by our friends at Riverbank and Trust. Riverbank with locations throughout the river region. The topic wheel today, the Phantom. How about this, Barry? We're going to try something new.
Okay.
The Phantom's daily dog. The Phantom's a big dog player.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, let's just pick a dog every day that we think can win. The Phantom's daily dog later in the program today. We'll release that as well. Because
the cliche goes, every dog has its day. That day is today with Longshore and McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight presented by Bud Light.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Hey, back at it here on a Thursday. Yep, normally on a Friday, but we're here a little early to kind of get you going here. Weather's going to be moving out. Don't have to worry about the rain, and you can come take advantage of great deals. The Jeep Sierra, $17,000 off sticker. You're right, 17 grand off the sticker here on a Jeep Sierra. How about a Ram 25 or 3,500 pickup? We told you they got the heavy duties as well. 17 grand off. Ram 2500 and 3500 pickup trucks, large selection to choose from. And of course, the Ram 1500, Stivers here in Prattville, largest volume Ram dealer in Northwest Florida and the entire state of Alabama. So, Barry, we're talking Northwest Florida. It's like Tallahassee to Pensacola. And then Alabama, everybody knows, is from Mobile to Huntsville. And that's a pretty big area.
It is a pretty big area. And there's a lot of cars being sold, but I'm telling you, in Prattville, it's where it's at. Just a short drive up I-65 from Montgomery, or really accessible from anywhere. Kind of a night last night in SEC basketball. Not any really marquee games. The best game, I guess, was in Columbia, South Carolina, where number 19 Ole Miss had a little bit of trouble with South Carolina, but they win it 72-68. South Carolina, I think they're still winless. I think they're 0-11 in the SEC. They were pretty good last year under Lamont Paris. John, has South Carolina added any value to the SEC? What, they've been here since, I don't want to say 92. No. John and I were together when South Carolina, I don't know. South Carolina came in with Arkansas, right?
Correct.
Arkansas.
Well, they've had spurts, Barry. Spurrier made them exciting.
But they didn't,
went to a couple of SEC championship games, and a lot of people will tell you, well, Georgia was down. Florida was down. So what? Whatever. They took advantage of the opportunity. Same thing with Missouri. Now, I'm going to bring those things up just for talking points, but in the grand scheme of things, you got to take advantage of the opportunities. If there's a cracked window, you got to go through it. South Carolina did.
Well, here's what people will say, and I know how some people think. Well, South Carolina has won like 50-something straight SEC women's basketball games.
Yep.
They won championship after championship. I'm talking natties in women's basketball. Some people will say that South Carolina, when you say, well, what have they really brought in? Well, we've won women's basketball national championships. Some people count that as even more of a negative than if they hadn't done anything at all. Oh, women's basketball. Are we counting women's basketball? Now in the SEC, that's been about it, really.
I remember when Champy was around over at Auburn. They sure did talk a lot about it. But anyway, don't want to veer off on that road. Not just yet.
Sure you do. Yeah, they have won a couple of baseball national championships under Ray Tanner. Some really good teams. With Whit Merrifield and Michael Roth and those guys. But that was a long time ago.
How about this,
football-wise, they win 10 games a couple of times under Spurrier. They were fair to middling this year. But
how about this?
Has it been worthy?
The atmosphere in Columbia seems to be pretty exciting.
Oh, they love the Cocks.
They love their Gamecock football. They get that, Gamecock sound effect going, which drives me insane.
The atomic chicken. Yeah.
The basketball's kind of had its ups and downs. Men's basketball, I can't tell you much about their baseball program. They get out of the shadow of Clemson. I mean, could you imagine? I don't know. Let's
you,
just say
the first time you hit the Palmetto State on I-85, if you had to drive to DC, you would have to find your way around South Carolina. If you were in Columbia, South Carolina, or Irmo, or Florence, or Spartanburg,
Irmo.
I mean, they would be torching your car or something like. South Carolina has got to get out of the shadow of Clemson. John Longshore, people, not Barry McKnight.
Yes.
John Longshore said that. Oh,
got to get out of the shadow of Clemson. Obviously, Clemson football being the most dominant sport, the one that most people care about, has lapped South Carolina football. I mean, they're playing for national championships. They're winning national championships. I don't see South Carolina doing that. I mean, could you imagine that happening in another state? I mean, really? I mean, it's time for South Carolina to act like a big boy and not let this, school that doesn't have the state name attached to it getting pushed around a little bit. In some states, they don't allow that. They just don't let that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah, the legislature needs to get involved like they did in Alabama. Also, last night, Arkansas playing at home beats LSU by 12. Missouri, number 21 in the country, they've had a pretty good year. They beat Oklahoma bad. They beat Oklahoma by 24. As we get ready for.
So if our two new entrants into the SEC in terms of basketball, I mean, they lived up to their end of the deal. Oklahoma and Texas don't seem to be.
Texas is 4-8 in the league. Texas 4-8 in the league. Oklahoma 3-8. I didn't realize it because they both got pretty good overall records. I mean, Texas is 15-10, Oklahoma is 16-8. But that's what you got in the league is you got some really good teams because this is the most dominant basketball league there's ever been in America. You're going to have that. Texas is 13th. Oklahoma is 14th in the league right now. And you look at the standings, and I'm looking at them right now. 2 games ahead of everybody else in the league. Auburn and Alabama are 10-1 in the SEC. They play on Saturday afternoon. Huge SEC implications. Robbie from Greenville keeps chirping over and over again. You really need to win the SEC tournament so you could be the number 1 overall seed.
Really?
That'd be nice. That'd be nice to say. That'd be like, hey, we're the number 1 overall seed. But as long as you're one of the top 4, and both of them have been top 4 national seeds.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, okay.
That's really what. Other than the honor of being, hey, we're the number 1 seed. Big deal, really.
Is that, Barry, is that going to, because I mean, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee could possibly be number 1 seeds. Is that going to be the determining factor? Whoever wins, if one of those 3 teams wins the SEC tournament in Nashville next month, I got some news on that too. Hold on.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're the number 1 overall seed?
I think so. But again, if whoever loses the game on Saturday, it's not the end of the world. It really, in the national scope, doesn't really do a whole lot. Now, on a local level, I've already started seeing at TiderInsider.com the exact concern that we have. John was mentioning tickets on the secondary market, that if there's a lot of them, if people who bought the tickets when they came out from the school itself are trying to make a little coin by selling them, there's going to be a bunch of Auburn fans out there. The thread at TiderInsider.com says Barners will be trying to buy tickets for Saturday. It's way cheaper than in Auburn. Like he's bragging. Like he's bragging in the world of shore. That would drive me crazy. Wait a minute. We're selling our tickets for cheaper than they're selling them in. Why? Why are we, why is Alabama doing that? They need to strike while the iron's hot. Outfield Bill says some corporate Bama fan will have booger eaters sitting courtside. EGD4 says, I'm going to make their life miserable if they're sitting around me. And ranked one underneath it says, good. Ranked one also says, I wish our ticket holders would not sell to them.
You know,
and believe me, they're going to be selling hundreds of them.
Don't get all
they're
worked
going
up
to do it.
about that. They're going to do it. So
Yeah.
just quit wasting your time and effort. I know in this grandiose world, we want 15,000 crimson-clad supporters. That ain't going to happen. So get over it. And it's just the way of the world and people trying to make a quick buck. So if you're going to the game, you might be sitting back next to somebody with orange and blue on it. Just happens.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, thanks for the weather report. Appreciate that. JJ, Alabama just did give Nate Oates a new deal. Signed him up, locked him down after the Final Four appearance. But, contracts are made to be broken. I just brought up earlier in the week, if a team like, say, Indiana comes knocking, or maybe some other type of blue blood program, would Nate Oates seriously consider making a move? I don't know if he would, but I do have a feeling, or I am confident in saying, there are going to be schools that are going to at least ask. I mean,
He will be presented. He will be presented with the opportunity. When we come back, more basketball with Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. John Longshore is at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville. I am in Lafayette, Louisiana. We are in association with Yellowhammer News, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Alrighty, welcome back in, everybody. Jason Caldwell scheduled to join us here momentarily. I am here live in Prattville at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Barry in Lafayette, Louisiana, with Troy basketball. Barry, listen to some of these deals.
All right.
Jeep Grand Cherokee or Jeep Sierra, your choice or both. 17 grand off or 0% for 72 months.
Like
Ram
that Sierra. Ooh.
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Ram 2500 or 3500 pickups. There again, if you need something a little more heavy duty, they got it. Up to 17 grand off. And a 2025 Ram Laramie up to $25,000 off or 4.9% for APR for 72 months. And it's not just one or two or three or four. It's the entire lot of vehicles on sale. February savings going on right now. It's Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville. You cannot beat it. So come by and see our friends and get that vehicle that you've been dreaming about. Let's make it a reality here at Stivers in Prattville. Also, quickly before we get to Jason, Jason might be interested to know this. We tell you, Barry, you better go ahead and act on it. When we tell you something, you need to jump on.
Right.
Yesterday, when we got off the air, probably about 11 o'clock, I get a text. we are sold out. Total Sports Travel has sold out of all of their packages for the SEC men's basketball tournament in Nashville.
Yep.
It's going to be great. I mean, all these great teams projected to have 13 in the NCAA tournament. You can just imagine what the SEC tournament's going to be like.
Yep.
We told you. We tried to tell you. And if you didn't act on it, I mean, maybe you can stay in Franklin, Tennessee or somewhere, but you ain't staying on Broadway. Just letting you know.
There you go. Jason Caldwell is in with us at auburnundercover.com. How we doing, Jason? Things good?
Yep, doing good. How about y'all?
Really well. I can imagine the tension level is pretty high over in Auburn for the big one on Saturday. First, let's catch up a little bit. Auburn loses at home last Saturday to Florida by 9. That's a number 6 team in the country. Were you surprised at any level that Auburn stayed number 1 in the polls after that?
No, I think, if you look, it's supposed to be, kind of body of work. Sometimes you get caught up in going, hey, recency. But Alabama, I think Alabama deserves to be right there too. And I think it's perfect that they're both 1, because I think they're both right now, to me, have the 2 best resumes in college basketball and have played the best, consistently over the season. So honestly, I think both of them deserve to be there 1-2, 2-1, whatever it is. So no, not surprised. I mean, you look at what Auburn has done this season over the course of the year, and you still just have 2 losses, and it's to Duke and now Florida, 2 top 5 teams. So,
Jason, talk a little bit about how Auburn responded. I mean, after the loss to Florida at home, they go to Nashville, and I mean, gee whiz. I mean, the first 4 or 5 minutes, you're going, man, they're going to blow Vanderbilt out of the gym here. I mean, I was very impressed with how Auburn played on Tuesday night.
Yeah, you come out of a game where I think we talked about it last week. I thought it was the most difficult matchup Auburn was going to have, just in terms of the 94 feet.
Right.
Just in terms of the 94 feet on a court. Florida's so long. They're big. They do all the things, and it's just a tough matchup. And that played out. They played really well too. And so you add those 2 things together, and you go, not a surprise to see it happen. Maybe a surprise that it got a little out of hand in the second half, but hey, Florida's pretty good. And so, and that's it. Part of this league, you look in Auburn, you get up 15-0 at Vandy, you go, oh man, you're going to be able to coast now. And that's not going to happen in this league. We saw it last night. I mean, Ole Miss has to battle against a winless South Carolina team. By the way, South Carolina, one at Clemson, who just beat Duke at home. So that tells you a little bit about this league. So, but you're looking, I think the biggest thing the other night is that Janai Broome didn't play particularly well. Chad Baker-Mazar didn't score, and you win by double digits at Vanderbilt. That to me, we've talked about it, but it shows me the depth of this team. And you look up and it's somebody a different night. The other night it was Denver Jones and Chaney Johnson. Those 2 guys kind of carried the way for this team. So now I think that to me, as much as anything, was the response. After you lead 15-0 and you look up and you're down in the second half, you go, man, what happened? They just kept on playing and, kind of found a way.
Would you say, Jason, that Janai Broome is close to being 100%?
I don't think so. I think he's probably 65%, something like that. It's still okay when he's moving towards the basket and he's, like you see him, kind of get some open lanes for dunks, things like that. It is the start, stop, getting quick off the floor, things like that just aren't there. Like he's not a guy that plays above the rim a ton anyway, but there's not a whole lot of lift right now for him. And so, like you see right now, a lot of rebounds just kind of falling in his hands. And he does a good job of doing that, and he's still able to score. But yeah, he's not able to finish around the rim. These last 2 games have been really difficult. And so how close can you get? I don't know. We'll see. I think the same thing now is for Florida. For a guy like Alex Condon, what happens now the next 3 or 4 weeks for a guy like that? And I think it's, it's kind of the difference in football. You go like, man, an offensive guard, you give him an ankle injury and you go, man, he could probably be okay with it. But you get a guy that has to step out and do things as a running back, an ankle, and you go, man, it devastates. Everybody's a running back in basketball. Everybody has to move and do those things.
Yeah.
And so, I would, I think if you're Auburn, if you feel like you can get him close to 80% by the time you get to the SEC tournament, where you actually have a little bit of a break, maybe, then maybe you can start to kind of get a little bit better.
I'm asking you your appraisal of just how healthy Janai Broome is. Let's go with that again. Let's get your appraisal. Is this the biggest regular season college basketball game in Auburn history coming up Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the first of two of them because I think we're going to look up here at the end of the year and it's going to be the same thing happening at the end of the year too, unless one of these two teams falls apart. I think we're going to see another 1-2 matchup down the line because I just think this league is so difficult. The schedule strength is there so much that you're going to have another one of these. And I think it's, I talked about this yesterday a little bit. I think people have to put it in perspective, but they won't because this is still a football state. Everything happens in football terms. There's one football game a year. This could be the first of 4 times these teams play in basketball. Yeah. And it's a much different sport. I mean, and you think about it, we see it in baseball. You think college baseball, you lose a game in college baseball 15-2, and it doesn't really matter. You get down 6-0 in the 4th inning, you go like I'm not pitching any of my top guys. It's one baseball game. It's the same thing for basketball. You go, it's a big basketball game, but there's still a whole lot that matters in a basketball season. Whereas football, you go, well, you lose this game, it's over with. That's not the case for this one, but it's a really big game because there's not going to be any more tension ever in a basketball game for these two programs other than the times they played in the
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, Jason. I was thinking about that as well. I mean, you're right. This could be the first of 4 matchups. I mean, the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament could be a 4-game season between these two if it plays out that way. But I do think it's interesting and it's fun that here we are in the middle of February, and in the last 30 years or so that Barry and I have been together, we'd be talking about signing day wrap up, spring football starting. Position battles in spring football. Man, we ain't even talked about that. And I'm not hearing it on the streets. My buddies aren't asking me about it. It is all about basketball. And I don't think I've ever seen a time, Jason, that on Saturday at 3:00, I mean, nobody has any plans. I mean, everybody is focused on watching this game. I don't ever remember that happening.
No. I mean, I remember for much of my lifetime, we got tickets to a Saturday basketball game. And, you would drive down 280 to Auburn and you go to a basketball game and you see these people walking in, but around town, nobody really thought there was a basketball game going on. I think that's been the case. Even when Alabama was good in the 80s, that was still pretty much the case in Tuscaloosa as well. And now it's completely different. More tension, social media, all those things have added to it, but it's historic. I mean, you're 1 and 2 in the country. And it has never been the case. And you're right. I mean, I know when Auburn's spring football starts because I've had to talk about it, but it's not till almost the end of March. I have no idea when Alabama's spring football season starts. I mean, I hadn't even really heard anything about it. And that's kind of where we are.
Jason, you mentioned the 80s. Wimp Sanderson would come to the fraternity houses and begging us to come to the games.
Yeah, and they were good. I mean, that was, we were talking about it like Kentucky has always been the kind of the program that set the bar. Auburn had its run, but Alabama's been the next most consistent program. And then you added Arkansas and you've added other teams since then. But there's been good teams for both of these programs, but there's never been anything like we're seeing right now.
Jason, purely from a basketball, in between the lines, I want to ask: do you like the matchup? I don't see the width of a paper's worth of difference in the matchups. What about you?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think Florida was the most difficult matchup because of the length and the style of play they play. But Alabama, if they make shots, there's not much you can do. They go out like they played in Texas the other night and they make 17 threes and you go, well, it doesn't matter much about the rest of the game. That's the difficult. It's like playing Golden State. When Golden State makes shots, when they had all those guys together, you just kind of tip your cap and go. So to me, how well can you defend the perimeter and make them uncomfortable? That's the key for this one. Because Auburn's going to score. Alabama's defense is better, but it's still not like playing Tennessee. And so you look, and this is that game. This one, you think about football terms. You go football, you always think about turnovers, and Alabama turns it over a little bit. So can you do some of those things? But the turnover stat for this one for basketball is Auburn is how the game's called. How do they whistle this game?
Yep.
Can Auburn avoid foul trouble? Alabama gets to the free throw line. I think they're fourth most in the country of anybody. Can you avoid a Dylan Caldwell, a Broom, a Chaney Johnson, one of those guys getting in early foul trouble? Because that's what could really hamper you. Auburn's deep, but nobody's deep enough to overcome a couple of those things. And that's it. How will they blow the whistle on Saturday is a big part of the game. And
yeah,
that's what's crazy about college basketball. It can change a game in a heartbeat.
I was thinking that same thing, Jason. So I'll ask you, what type of game needs to be called? Does it need to be a physical, let them play, or does it need to be a ticky-tacky whistleblower?
No, I think for Auburn, you need to just kind of let them play. That would be the ideal thing, because Auburn is going to be the more aggressive defensive team. That's kind of what they're going to do. They need to be able to play that way, because if you can't put your hands on guys and all of a sudden Alabama's got free lanes to get to the basket and free lanes to shoot threes, then it becomes a difficult situation. So yeah, I think this one needs to be. It needs to be like I saw last night. I watched the game and I think it was Texas Tech playing. I can't remember who it was.
Arizona State. Yeah.
Arizona State. No, Texas Tech, it was in double overtime and Texas Tech had 16 fouls. You're not going to get that game in the SEC, but you don't need to have 7 fouls 4 minutes in. I think it was Missouri last night. Both teams were in the bonus with like 11 minutes left in the game.
Woo.
That's not the recipe that Auburn needs to have on Saturday.
That's a good point as well. Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. You have covered a lot of practice, and we've asked you about this before, so I'll go in a different way. There seems to be a groundswell of support from coaches about getting away from the spring game model, getting away from tons of that practice thing in the spring, and going to more of an NFL OTAs kind of a thing. In college, your opinion, would that work? Would that serve the purpose?
I think it would. And I spoke to Hugh Freeze last night for a few minutes about something I'm doing, and he brought it up again, talking about that.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think it might be beneficial right now is because you now have a rookie class all on campus. When you think about spring practice, it was your older guys. Now it's their turn, and then your freshmen showed up in the summer, and then you tried to get them acclimated as quickly as possible. Now all those people are on campus in January. So I think Auburn has done a smart thing by almost doing that themselves. They've kind of self-imposed a little bit of that, where they're not going out till March 25th. They're going to give them an extended time to be in the weight room, to work on their bodies, to get stronger and ready to be a college athlete before they get on the field in the spring. And so they are able to have meeting times, do some of those things. But even in the spring practices, I think one day a week, it's basically going to be a walkthrough, as much learning as possible, do those things. So I think because now 90% of these kids are on campus in January, I think it'd be beneficial to have more workout time and more time in the weight room and do those things to prepare guys physically for what's to come. And and then like I said, have maybe 10 days twice in the summer for a little mini camp, and then prepare you for the season. It's a year-round thing anyway. I think it would make sense to do it that way. And here's the thing: as long as there's a post-spring portal window, the spring game is going to be useless. The fans talk about taking away the spring game. They're not going to show anything anyway. It's just going to be, you'll be lucky if you get a practice on that day.
Yeah.
So I think unless that changes, they're not going to do it in the spring anyway.
Yeah, Jason, I would be curious if you've ever, in speaking with Coach Freeze, as you do often, his thoughts about what's coming in college athletics with the House versus the House versus the NCAA in early April, July 1st. There's also a target date. I know John Cohen was interviewed earlier this week about some of those kind of topics. Does Coach Freeze have any thoughts about it, of where that might land and how that might shape college athletics in the future?
Yeah, I think, they probably do. For them, it's more about how do you make it work with collective bargaining, some of those things. I think the bigger issue comes from sports like baseball and softball and some of these others, because in football you go, well, we know we're going to have 85. Do we get 90 or 95? And in baseball, it's like, we've got 11.7. Do we get 20? Do we get 25? Do we get 34? Because it is majorly impacting. I mean, you're trying to recruit guys for next year. Right now, you don't know, well, is that going to be a full scholarship? Is it going to be partially NIL? How do we make it work? I think for those sports, it's a much bigger question. And it's ridiculous that we're sitting here, they're getting ready to start a season, and they don't know what their roster number is going to look like next year. And so I think football and basketball, it's not going backwards. And so how do you make it work? I think for these coaches, they're like, hey, John Cohen, all the people involved in the athletic department will figure this out on how it's going to work for us. We just have to figure out what our roster is going to look like and how do we go win games. The other sports is much bigger deal, I believe.
Well, yeah, and right now, even for some of the schools that don't have the resources of an Auburn, they're already, I think, getting a little preemptive, getting a little panicky, and they're cutting, men's track and field almost in half at some places, things like that.
Because you don't know the money involved, how much you're going to have to spend, and we've seen it go. The Title IX part of it going
right.
You thought it originally you're going to have to pay everybody the same amount, and now it looks like, well, it may be. And again, I understand everybody deserves the opportunity to go play a sport, and I think the scholarships themselves should be divided, and that's part of Title IX. As far as how much money somebody gets for name, image, and likeness, it should be what you deserve, and that's what it's not right now. Everybody's getting something, but if we're going to do it, let's go back, because hey, if I'm playing basketball at Iowa, I don't deserve as much money as Caitlin Clark. It's not fair to her for me to make as much money as she does. Everybody should make what they're worth,
what the market bears. Yeah.
Yes, correct. And so, like I said, so it shouldn't be either way. But everybody deserves the opportunity to play. And from a scholarship standpoint, I think that's where it is. But we don't know how this thing's going to shake out in terms of the collective bargaining, what's all going to happen. It's crazy. And that's the crazy world that we live in right now in college athletics.
And have been living in for a good little while.
But I tell you, Jason, and I'm with you, but there's got to be, and we don't know when it'll be, but I really believe there's got to be a point in time we got to get all this cleared up, because the longer it goes on, I think the deeper we're getting.
Yeah, no, because you look up and down, and you have Carson Beck, what, $5 million? The Tulane quarterback he was a good player, not a great player. He was a good player,
young player.
$4 million a year at Duke. I mean, Duke is paying a football player $4 million a year to play quarterback. And I mean, he was a good player. It cannot continue that way. It can't happen. I mean, basketball, we're seeing like BYU is going to pay $4 or $5 million for one basketball player.
Yeah, who's never played a moment of college basketball in his life before he gets that money.
What does it get you? We just saw Rutgers. I don't know how much Rutgers paid, but I'm guessing it was a bunch. And they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. They have two legitimate lottery picks in basketball. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament, because in basketball now, that's not how you win. In basketball, you win by being old and mature and veteran and having got – look at Auburn, Alabama. Neither one of those rosters are full of lottery picks. They're good. They're good players. But you win by being older and mature. I mean,
and
you look at both, and then you throw in a couple of talented young guys. That's how you win in college basketball. And I don't know. And it's craziness.
This is all great stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, with all that going on, and with baseball starting tomorrow. Yep. You guys got a lot going on at AuburnUndercover.com. People need to sign on if they have not yet.
Yeah, like I said, a lot going on. Nathan King previewing it a bunch. Him and Patrick, our intern, who does a great job. They'll be in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. I'll be here for baseball opening weekend, as of course it turns cold on Sunday, because that's what it's going to do.
That's what it does.
Baseball. So a lot of that. Still throwing a lot of recruiting stuff from last weekend. Myself and Christian Clemente were in Carrollton, Georgia for Under Armour camp over there. So a lot of talented guys. So lots of recruiting, even though it's a dead period, it's never dead. And so we got that. And then again, it is spring football sometime around the corner here in about 6 weeks or so. So still kind of inching towards that as well.
Yeah.
You'll be on top of every bit of it. Yep. We certainly know that at Auburn Undercover.
Yep. Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you.
Appreciate it. And y'all have a great day.
Take care,
too,
Jason. Yeah. With the cloudy future of what's going on, the House settlement should be decided in April, and if it is, if it comes to a conclusion in April, it would go into effect in August. Now, if it doesn't, if the plaintiffs turn down the House settlement, John, who in the world knows what happens then? Nobody knows. Even athletic directors are like, golly, if this thing doesn't come through, what do we do? What do we do?
I don't know if there is a plan B, Barry. You're right about that.
Yeah.
And they're looking at, a revenue plan that D1 schools will share or will distribute a little over $20 million to their athletes every year. That'd be a nice little chunk to, kind of solve this issue, if you will. Not maybe solve it, but certainly help it a little bit. But you're right. If it doesn't go their way, what are they going to do? And as Jason pointed out, quarterbacks at Duke making $4 million. I mean, you kidding me? There's no way you can sustain that for the long haul. And I read that it was a great article. John Cohen, Auburn's athletic director, was interviewed. I forgot who did it, but it was a real good article. And he talked about, things we've talked about over and over, Barry. You can't go to the well but so often. I mean, your big donors and your deep-pocketed alums, after a while, they're going to get a little fatigued, a little frustrated. Hey, man, we need some more money. You cannot sustain an NIL collective on the backs of those people.
And once you get into the House settlement, the NIL collectives are going to be going away, and you have to pay them yourself. Well, the way you pay them yourself is you get those boosters and donors to contribute to the school the money that they've been contributing to the collective. You can only go to the well so much. You're exactly right. So you got to make sure that when you do ask them something, when you do ask them for money, that money is for the most important things in your athletic department, and that is NIL. He says, look, we're proud of our facilities. We're proud of the donors who have contributed all that money to make us have the facilities that we've got. But facilities, I think he said facilities is like third on the priority list right now. NIL is number one, and schools are about to be able to control that themselves.
Well, let me tell you what's important here at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Barry, here in Prattville, Alabama. And people ask me, wait a minute. Whoa. Northwest Florida and all of Alabama, the largest volume Ram dealer 2 years in a row is Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, Alabama. Yeah.
Little old Prattville? How are they outselling Pensacola? How are they outselling Tallahassee? Towns that are Two-Egg and Sop Choppy. I mean, all of those places up in the Panhandle. Yep, they're doing it though, John.
Yes, they're
doing it year after year.
Yep, they certainly are, because Price sells Ram trucks. How about this, Barry? Ram 25 or 3,500, little heavy duty, up to $17,000 off. How about a 2025 Ram Laramie package, up to $25,000 off, or 4.9 APR for 72 months? And the Jeep lineup, incredible. Jeep Grand Cherokee, Jeep Sierra, both are $17,000 off sticker or 0% for 72 months. That's just a few of the many great deals going on right here, right now in the February savings sweepstakes at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Cobbs Ford Road in Prattville. Come by and see for yourself. And once again, Barry talked about it earlier. I think they try to keep us on our toes because we're here every 2 weeks. And I know there were a lot of Ram trucks here 2 weeks ago. Now there are a lot of Jeeps in the front of the lot. So they move it around. They want you to be coming by and checking everything out. But I'm telling you, Barry, the vehicles, on the sides in the rear of the dealership, loaded. Yeah. So make sure you check around and drive around the dealership to see all the vehicles available here now at Stivers in Prattville.
That's where John is. I'm in Lafayette, Louisiana. Coming up, it's going to be a visit from Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com will join us as well. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Joining us now is Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, and it is Valentine's. Marianne, tell us what's in store when Cupid arrives.
Definitely. Valentine's is now. It's amazing. This year is going by quickly already. But one thing you don't need to forget or let slip by you is the opportunity to show that special person you love exactly what you're thinking of them, that you're thinking about them. And we have lots of great options. For the first time ever, we're going to have price point cases to make it easy shopping for all the guys out there, ladies, anyone. So we're going to have a case for $199, $299, $399. We have lots of great specials, lots of things. If you come in, we even have time for some special customized designs because at Marguerite's we really do make it. So again, don't be last minute. Don't forget about it. This is your cue. All the hearts in the background. Valentine's Day is here and you want to stop at Marguerite's because we'll wrap it up and help you find that perfect gift.
Glad you mentioned the beautiful gift wrap. Just another example of what sets Marguerite's apart from everyone else. And whether it's a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, any jewelry item, and as Marianne mentioned, they have them in different cases at different price points. Or if you have something special in mind, they can certainly handle that as well. Marguerite's is a full-service jeweler. They do it all from sales to repairs to special orders. And you're located there at 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. And Marianne, you're open 7 days a week, so that's very convenient for our viewers and listeners.
Exactly. We're open 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. We're open from 10 to 5:30 on Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday. So the hardest thing you have to do is open the door, and we'll take it from there.
That's right. Hey, let's have a great Valentine's, folks, and it all starts at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Marianne, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, here we are back at it on this Thursday. It's a little after 1 minute past the hour of 8 o'clock. Hour number 2, if you're watching us live, if you're streaming throughout the day, kicking off the second hour. And certainly want to remind everybody, you can check us out at yellowhammernews.com. You can check us out on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, on Spotify. What am I missing, Barry? Because I can't remember them all. We'll reel them off.
I had them all. John's starting to get that cadence in his mind. Where he, not only does he mention them all, he mentions them all in the same order. And it's not easy to do because we are on a lot of different media, on a lot of different platforms. But then again, so is Rodney Orr at TigerInsider.com, who joins us now. Good morning, Rodney. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you today?
It's good. It's good over here. John is on what I like to call, as of probably this morning, he's on tent watch.
Yes.
Yes. He's checking to see if anybody is camping out outside Coleman Coliseum yet to make sure the students get their tickets for the big Auburn-Alabama game on Saturday. Any idea?
I'm sorry, Barry. Give me that question again.
John's on tent watch. Are there any students out there camping out? Do they get their tickets for Saturday afternoon's game?
That's a good question because I'm telling you, it's a hot ticket, man. I mean, I hear people buzzing about that. Honestly, I've never. Well, I'm not gonna say never, but it's very few and far between that I recall especially a regular season game that this magnitude in terms of the interest. I mean, this whole state's buzzing about it.
Well, you're right, Rodney. We were talking earlier today. I mean, this time of year for the last 30 years we've been talking to you. We're recapping signing day. We're talking about spring football. We're talking about position battles. We're talking about week 1 of the regular season. We're not talking about basketball. But right now, Rodney, that's what everybody's focused on. I mean, I know people that are making plans for Saturday at 3 o'clock. If they're not at the game, they're going to be watching it, and everything else is getting put to the side. I don't ever remember it being like this.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, it really is. I mean, and look, I think John and Barry, here's the thing. Both these teams are legitimate. I mean, again, you have to play in the tournament and all those things. I understand it's a long way off, but both these teams are legitimate top 2-3 teams. I mean, they could, either one of them could win the national championship. And you know what? I know this sounds crazy, but what if both of them what if they played for the national championship?
Ooh.
I mean, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, sure, it'd be far-fetched. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome between now and then, but still, I mean, these two teams are certainly. It's never been on this level where I think you could honestly say Alabama and Auburn might be the top two teams in the country.
Yeah, and that's the point I think that you iterate, and we need to reiterate, is the fact that the number one and the number two, it's not because, basketball is down this year or there's only really two or three really good teams. The SEC is stronger than any league has ever been. These are not only the top two teams in the country, they deserve to be the top two teams in the country. I haven't seen two better teams, and I've watched a lot of basketball this year. So the fact that they deserve it leads a lot of credibility to the fact that Saturday is a historic day. It's not only the first ever 1-2 matchup for Auburn, Alabama. It's the first 1-2 matchup ever in the SEC. And I'm struggling to find an advantage when you look at personnel, Rodney. I'm struggling to find an advantage for either team in this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're right, 100%. I think the only advantage you find if you look at these two games coming up between Alabama and Auburn is the home court.
The home team,
right?
yep.
I mean, that's about the only thing that you could really find. I mean, of course, we're going to learn a lot more about both teams, obviously, in these two games that they play. But I see that as the only thing that kind of separates them when they play is, home court advantage.
Yeah, and I think that's, big for Alabama because they got to go down to Auburn in about 2.5, 3 weeks for the return game at Neville. And we know what type of atmosphere that is. So, getting a win here would be huge for the Crimson Tide. And you think about it, Rodney, that might not be the only time they play. I mean, they could face off in the SEC tournament. Heck, they could even meet in the NCAA tournament. This could be they could meet possibly 4 times this year.
Yeah. Could the state, could it withstand that? I mean, I'm not sure.
Unbelievable.
It's really, great. But look, it's a testament really to Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl. I mean, the jobs that they've done building these programs, elevating basketball to another level at each one of these programs. I mean, they've both done a fantastic job, man. I mean, it is what it is. And, certainly there's a new fervor, I think, among the fan bases. I say new, it's been going on a few years now, but I mean, it's just continuing to elevate. You talked about spring practice, John, you talked about recruiting, you mentioned all those things that generally are the hot topics. And, most people on Tighter and Cider, they're not even really interested in that right now. It's not that, hey, I like to hear it. I hope things go well. Obviously with the spring practice coming up and all these position battles, but that's not first and foremost on their mind. It's all about Alabama basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of that, and there's been conjecture, in terms of what you need to have, the tools and resources you need to have to run a nationally successful basketball program, Nate Oates is getting everything he wants. The arena has been a sore topic, but obviously it's not bothering him too much. The pay is great. The NIL is good. The support is good and all that. We've been trying to figure out if there is a potential opening out there, and there may be one at, like, say, Indiana. What factors would Nate Oates look at in terms of moving somewhere else? He's got everything he needs in Tuscaloosa, right?
Yeah, I think, only when you're talking about, and I know North Carolina's been mentioned as well, potentially as an opportunity that could become available. And, all of those would be attractive. Those are quote unquote blue blood programs there. Kentucky, obviously last year, I think he could have been, and he may have been a legitimate contender for that job, from their perspective at some point in that process. But with all that said, no, I think really this is kind of Nate Oates' program. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away from the history of CM Newton, Wimp Sanderson, and all of that. But, what he inherited and what he's built, it's Nate Oates' program. I mean,
Mhm.
this is historically right now. If you look at him, people are kind of saying he's the greatest Alabama basketball coach of all time in terms of, things he's achieving right now, going to the Final Four and all the success that they're having. So, number one, that this is his baby. Okay. But number two, you're right. Greg Byrne, they've shown him the commitment in all of whether it's, the contracts that he's gotten. He's certainly been paid well and being paid well. And Alabama hasn't been hesitant about bumping him up at times, obviously. And then NIL, he wanted more NIL. He got it
Yep.
doubled last year, is my understanding. And then, when he was asked what he really wanted, he wanted this training facility that they're wrapping up, that they're building now. So it's not really anything that he hasn't, that he's asked for that he hasn't received. So I think all of the support that he gets is been extremely important as well. So I think those things, but I want to say this too. So I say all that to say this. I do think family is a consideration here.
Mhm.
I know that he's got a daughter. She's still in school. I don't know if it's 7th, 8th grade or whatever, and he's got another daughter that's in college right now. And I do think that it's important for him to kind of stick it out for a while here in
Sure.
Tuscaloosa.
Mhm.
And so, there's a lot of considerations. Now, with all that said, is he eventually probably going to go somewhere? I'd say it might be the NBA eventually. I mean, let's just be honest. I think that's something that probably intrigues him.
I can see that. And I've heard that too, Rodney. Maybe if he gets to a point where his children are grown and his youngest is in college, and he maybe want to put his toe in the water with the NBA. I mean, I could see that. But you're right. I mean, they're paying him well. I mean, I don't know how many other programs out there dropping $60 million on a practice facility.
Yeah.
Great. Coleman Coliseum's old. It's antiquated, but we've talked to him about it before. I mean, those guys are only in there 40 minutes a week, maybe 80 if they're playing 2 games in a week. They got great locker room, great workout, great fitness, great health, great medical. They travel first class. I don't think they're worried about Coleman Coliseum as much as NIL and making sure, they've got the best for their athletes in terms of practice and medical and everything else that goes with it.
Well, you mentioned NIL, and I think that was one thing Oates pointed to a few years ago. He said, it really doesn't matter what our arena looks like if we don't have players to play in it,
Sure.
And so, I think that he's been pleased with the way Alabama's, the support he's gotten in NIL. And I know that there's this thing out there that kind of a narrative that Alabama doesn't have any money, that they're broke and all of this. And I get it. And I know Greg Byrne made some comments that, certainly, I don't want to say, well, I guess it could have contributed to that even more. But and there's no doubt. I mean, Greg Byrne's right. I mean, they do need, in this current environment, you need more support. And there's basically almost every program in the country needs that, in this current environment. But with all that said, you're right. I think the way Alabama stepped up in all of those areas, including NIL, has been really important to Nate Oates.
And it's been something that even with the changes coming in the NIL, something I think he can count on, and something that's not going to be equaled at any other prospective place. Rodney Orr, TigerInsider.com. Rodney, Greg Byrne was also talking earlier this week in an interview, trying to figure out what to do about court storming and fan behavior and stuff like that. He said, Alabama is usually the court stormee, not the court stormer, and he's the Vanderbilt thing and down through the years. He's saying, obviously the financial penalty isn't much of a deterrent. It's time to go and take wins away from some of these teams. That doesn't sound plausible, but something needs to happen there, right?
Well, I just think it's just because of the dangers involved too in this. I mean, you saw Jermaine Burton, that situation at Tennessee a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I saw another video this past season where some big player, football player. I'm talking about a lineman decked a girl. So, I mean, these types of things make it really dangerous, and these fans get on the field. There's so many emotions going. They point at the players. These players are coming off after a disappointing loss, whatever it is. It's just there's a lot of opportunities there for things to go wrong, And
Well,
so,
there is, Rodney. I totally agree. And I've heard people say, oh, it's what makes college great. Don't take it away, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking that's crazy.
Hey, John, fans don't go on the field to celebrate anymore.
No, they don't.
They go on the field to taunt.
Yes.
And that's really what it is. And that's what it's turned into. So anyway.
They'll get their phones and they'll say, hey, you look at me. I'm talking trash to whomever, and posting it on TikTok. That's what they're after.
Yeah, and somebody's trying to get one of these athletes or coaches to do something that they can put on TikTok or Instagram. And these, emotions are high. I totally agree. And I hate to think something bad's going to happen, but I think that's where we're heading before they actually really do something about it. Because you can find these schools all you want, but the kids don't care. It's not coming out of their pocket. But maybe if you take a home game away or whatever. I mean, I don't want them to put fencing up, but Rodney, that might be where we were headed.
I'll tell you another thing too. You're right. But I'll say this too. You remember a few years ago when Kiffin went back to Knoxville and they were throwing golf balls and everything else out on the field. They had to suspend the game for a while. But I know when Alabama went to Tennessee, when the Jermaine Burton incident occurred in 2022, Alabama had some equipment stolen on the sideline, quite a bit of equipment taken in that. So there's a lot of things I think that, you have to look at and the dangers that are involved there.
Rodney, that was the game. That was the game where, I'm not going to get the details right, but Alabama had a staffer on the sidelines who was actually a grad student. He was going to college for his master's degree. He had been like a Marine or Special Forces or something like that, highly decorated and all that. And somebody bowed up to him, and if he didn't have a little self-discipline there, and that guy might still be having to deal with some dental work.
Barry, I'm sorry. That was at LSU. That was at LSU. I remember that. I remember people in the facility talking about that. I'll just say it, coon ass. You didn't realize what was getting ready to happen.
If that guy had an extra, that's the one guy in the stadium you didn't want to mess with, right? That guy.
Yeah, he was not an intimidating looking guy, but he carried, martial arts to the black degree level. But, here's another thing, John and Barry. Let me just, this thought kind of came to me. If you're Greg Byrne or anyone at a university, how long before, if something like that happens, if someone's injured seriously, they don't hold the school responsible for this, and all of a sudden the school is because they didn't protect the people there, they're held responsible and liable for millions and millions of dollars.
I'm totally with you. I don't know why they're letting this drag on, because there again, I see that happening. Somebody's going to get hurt badly. Lawsuits are going to be flying. They're going to be lawyers sitting outside that stadium handing out business cards. Can't wait to sue the university. So, that's what's going to happen. And why they're tap dancing around it, I don't understand. You're right. Things have changed. They're not out there celebrating like a 15-year-old did with his best friend in the Superdome on the goal line stand game. There was nobody out there looking to beat somebody up. They were just up there cheering and hollering. And I was told not to do it, but I did it anyway. I was 15. Never forget it.
That was a great moment, John. I was doing the same thing in my living room, though.
Rodney, I had to find my way back to the French Quarter to the hotel we were staying at. That's kind of tough for two 15-year-olds, but we found our way back. I can promise you that. We spent, believe it or not, 18 minutes talking about basketball. That's a new record. What about football? I hear Ryan Grubb is in the film room breaking it down, trying to find some tricks of the trade for the upcoming season. Talk about that. And Nick Sheridan, now I guess officially the quarterback's coach.
Right. And we kind of suspected. I know that a lot of people said tight end, and we thought it was a possibility too. Was told last week, no, they're simply going to allow Sheridan to continue on as the quarterback's coach. And here's the thing: look on the defensive side. You've got Kane Womack is kind of what we call the walk around defensive coordinator. He doesn't really have a position anymore. He's just kind of a walk around DC. Well, now it's the same thing on the offensive side with Ryan Grubb. He's a walk-around offensive coordinator. He's got a lot of expertise, obviously on the offensive line. He's coached quarterbacks. He's got a great understanding of every position. So that's going to be his role. And I think Nick Sheridan, has really got a great relationship with all of these quarterbacks. He's been with Ty Simpson for a year now. He's been with Austin Mack for going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
And he recruited Keelan Russell. So he's kind of their coach. He's kind of the guy that they're comfortable with and been comfortable with. So I think that's a positive move.
So many things going on. Rodney Orr at TiderInsider.com not only has tons of content, man, that forum, it is all about the round ball these days. And man, they are fired up about Saturday afternoon at 3:00 at Coleman Coliseum. How do people join all of that at Tider Insider, Rodney?
Well, it's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year, and you can get instant access with your credit card. If you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. That gives you all our premium information, but also, as you mentioned, our community there of Alabama fans. It's not just a bunch of, well, sometimes they act like kids, but it's it's really a lot of great discussion for the most part, a lot of interesting things as you follow Alabama basketball and football and all of the other sports.
Rodney, here's something we're going to let you chew on as we let you go. One of our texters, who is a big subscriber to Tider Insider, says one of Wimp's best teams went 26-9. They lost 4 times to Kentucky in that season. Played them twice in the regular season, SEC tournament, and the NCAA tournament. Lost all 4 times to Kentucky. So who knows? Maybe Auburn and Alabama can face off 4 times this year in basketball. We will see. It all starts Saturday afternoon at 3:00.
Yeah, look forward to it, man. I really do. Again, it's going to be a historical day here, and I know in a few weeks it's going to be historical down at Auburn.
That's good stuff. Rodney, as always, we do appreciate the time and insight. Thanks a bunch.
Okay, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, you too, buddy. Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, joining us exclusively. Sponsored by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market. You're watching the game on Saturday, having some folks over, get some shrimp, get some boiled shrimp. They'll even cook them for you if you need to. If you need them boiled, they'll peel them, devein them, do it all for you. Makes a great little hors d'oeuvre, a little snack there for your basketball watching party. Also, fresh oysters. Their crawfish are available, and all their fabulous seafood from snapper to grouper to cobia to salmon, triggerfish, you name it, they've got it. And you can call ahead, and your order will be ready for pickup, 288-4272. That's 288-4272. Or just go by and see them, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Folks, it's the freshest seafood in the river region, bar none. The Destin Connection Seafood Market. They got anything and everything you want when it comes to seafood. They've even got the ingredients to cook your seafood with. They got a big display of some great spices.
They'll do it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so you can check that out as well.
Which is why it's always a good idea, a smart idea, to call ahead. 288-4272. You call them this afternoon. They can have a lot of that stuff, whatever you need, ready for your basketball watching party on Saturday. You don't even have to, deal with it yourself. Just let them do it. Destin Connection Seafood Market, 288-4272. Call ahead. You won't be sorry.
Hey, all you Tider Insider subscribers and members, you can also hear our interview with Rodney at TI. That's right. He puts it on the homepage at Tider Insider. So later this afternoon, if you want to go back and listen, or if you weren't able to hear it today, that's another option. You can go to Tider Insider. Yeah. Rodney will have that up for you, the interview that we had with him here this morning.
Oh, Tobias on the chat line. He says, John and Barry, I have a question. This would have been for Rodney. John and Barry, I have a question. After watching last year's film, Did Ryan Grubb buy Nick Sheridan a bottle of wine and said he felt sorry for him? I mean, he gets there first thing, you know, and when he goes into the film room and he and Sheridan are watching film of last year's offense and the quarterback play, does he at one point in the darkened room just stop the film, walk over there, give Sheridan a big hug and pat him on the back and said, "Hey, man, it's okay now. It's all right."
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be some tough film to watch. I agree. Barry, you got to help me out here. This is the second week in a row our man John has commented on the way I say shrimp.
Yeah.
Is it like Cool Whip? I mean,
yeah, Cool Whip. You know, why you say it that way? Yeah, John will do two things. I love John. He's very active and very faithful. We appreciate that. He'll always make a comment about my headgear. Yeah, my head. I'm gonna have to look and see how big this hat is. He also talks about John has a unique way of saying shrimp.
Oh.
John, I haven't noticed that. I've heard you say shrimp for as long as we've been on the air, because as long as we've been on the air, Destin Connection Seafood Market has been supporting our programs. I haven't noticed. John has a unique way of saying shrimp. Just makes you want to drive to the Gump and on to the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Yeah, that's the plan. You are falling into his sinister plan there. Yeah, that's what we do.
It's all about the delivery, John. So I got you shrimp. You kind of tasting your lips there, thinking, "Ooh, man, some shrimp would be great for the game on Saturday."
I have had somebody who said, you know, it's been more than once that I've heard John talk about picking up a grouper po' boy at lunch, and I'm thinking,
man,
now he said it. I can, like I'm going to go to lunch somewhere else and go pick up something other than that shrimp or that oyster or that grouper po' boy.
And I'm telling you, if grouper's not your thing, I mean, they can fry it, grill it, blacken it, however you want it. I get it grilled, but if you want an oyster po' boy, which I love, shrimp po' boy, man, they can do it up any way you want to. So go by and see them or give them a call. David and his staff, Destin Connection Seafood Market. John likes the way I say shrimp. Who would have ever thunk it? All right, I'm here live at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, where Price sells cars. Listen to some of this, Barry. We know. We've told you so many times, just don't want you to forget. There's a reason why. The largest volume Ram truck dealer in Northwest Florida and the state of Alabama. So they're selling more Ram vehicles. Why? Because Price sells cars. They've got the selection for you. I mean, they got so many Rams on the lot. Your Ram 1500 is here ready for delivery today. And you can get it at thousands, and I mean thousands off sticker. How about a 2025 Ram Laramie edition, up to $25,000 off or 4.9% APR for 72 months? You can get a Jeep Gladiator or Jeep Grand Cherokee, $17,000 off or 0% for 72 months. And you need something a little bit bigger, a little more heavy duty, like a Ram 25 or 3500 truck. Got those at $17,000 off here as well. Can't beat the prices, the selection, or the service at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, where Price sells cars and trucks.
Good to have you with us, John. John Dent says, can they Uber up to Morris, Alabama? John Dent, he has stayed through the program, even though I think they just had Tubbs on America's Newsroom on Fox just now. He's still with us. I love that. Well, we owe you. We owe you a Phantom's Dog of the Day.
Yes, Phantom's Dog of the Day is coming when we get back. We're going to go to the NBA tonight, Barry, the association.
We are also owing you a little Bart Heish. Talking a little round ball with him coming up as well. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination Golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location, 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
And you are with us here today on the Thursday edition. All right, Phantom's Daily Dog. How about that? You like that?
I do like that. I like the way that roll. I like the way you say that even more than I like the way you say shrimp. That's good. That's good.
Phantom's Daily Dog. I was thinking about this, Barry. The Phantom has been more of a dog player. The late, great Rich Clamian taught me that many years ago, who was our first handicapper as part of this duo back in the radio days. Some 32 years ago, Rich Clamian came on with me. He lived in Las Vegas, had some family here in Montgomery, and that's how I got hooked up with Rich. And every time I went to Vegas, I had lunch with Rich Clamian, and he taught me a lot. And one thing that he stressed, Barry, is he liked to find an underdog that he thought could win the game outright. And, you think about it, there are a lot of dogs that do win the game outright. You just got to find the one that you think's got the best chance to do it. And Rich would give out a play. And in the years that I followed Rich Clamian, Barry, I can only think of twice he ever released a favorite. Twice. Every other time it was an underdog.
And this is like a decade, 2 decades of Rich Clamian.
And I never knew him to ever release an over in the point totals. It was always unders, always underdogs. And I've kind of looked and followed that rule as well. And I thought now that when we talked about this and having a daily play, and the more I thought about it, I said, we're going to have the Phantom's Daily Dog. Because I love a dog. I just got to tell you. I mean,
he's a dog lover.
I am. And I think in handicapping, you maybe have to have a little broader view. But I do like to kind of zero it in and specialize, so to speak, in one area. And I love, Barry, I love going into a game knowing I got points. We might win this game. But if we don't, I still got a chance to win. So
if you know what I mean.
If I know what I mean. So, the Phantom's Daily Dog. Last night, our dog didn't do so well. Louisville went into NC State and put a butt whooping on them. So, it didn't matter that I had 6. I needed 26.5 to cover that game. Ugh.
Louisville was so bad the last couple of years. Pat Kelsey's come in. I think they're 19-6 now. So, all right. This is bounce back time. The Phantom Dog of the Day.
Yep, the Phantom's Daily Dog, Barry. We're going to the association tonight. The NBA, we're going to take the Golden State Warriors catching 6.5 at the Houston Rockets. We like Steph and company to maybe show up tonight, possibly get that win on the road, but we like the 6.5 against the Rockets. Take Golden State plus 6.5, the Phantom's Daily Dog.
There you go. John is live at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Cobb's Ford Road in Prattville. I am in Lafayette, Louisiana, where the Troy Trojans last night beat the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. And for the moment, Troy is a half game ahead of everybody in second place, with Arkansas State in first, coming up on the road for Troy on Saturday. That is at the moment, because tonight, 2 teams that are just a half game back, essentially tied in second place in the Sun Belt Conference. The Marshall Thundering Herd and the South Alabama Jaguars will meet tonight in Mobile. And I believe our buddy Bart Heish is going to be on the ESPN Plus call of that game. Bart, can you confirm or deny?
Well, we're going to get, there he is. Yep.
Trying to. Yep, there he is.
Connection. Yeah, there he is.
Hey guys, sorry, my old computer, my I had a blow up this week, man, with what my new computer, the cord blew up, Barry. You ever had that? It just like
absolutely,
popped.
yeah.
And so I'm waiting
So
on
now
it.
he's on the Commodore 64. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm back. It's like I'm back playing Pong.
You got you got the Herd and the Jags tonight in Mobile?
Man, Barry, I do. And like I was actually prepping yesterday. Man, I have watched so much high school basketball. I literally have seen every team 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, boys, girls in the last 2 days.
That's
just prepping for the next couple of weeks because I'm not going to be able to go to watch any of these games at the regional sites unless I get to go next week. But tonight, man, I was prepping for Marshall South last night. Barry, Marshall's big. They're physical. They're old. They got a coach that played there in Corny. And I like them. And I feel like tonight offensive rebounding is going to be a huge thing South Alabama will have to keep Marshall from doing, because if you watch that Arkansas State game, and that's the one that I watched when I was prepping more than any of the others versus Marshall was down numerous times in that first half and then came back and just continuously invoked their will on the offensive glass. And I was very surprised with that with Miller. So this is a huge game. And on our show, we're talking about the ASUN, the Sun Belt, the Southern Conference, how all three of these conferences, with all these older players mainly in transfers, these leagues are up in the air for everyone, and the Sun Belt's no different. Congratulations on the win last night, man. I hate you had to do that to my boy Derek Zimmerman, but you know.
Yeah, he's going to get that thing done. They are playing so hard. One of the things as a broadcaster that's going to be a challenge always a challenge for me, going to be a challenge for you tonight. Marshall has got a guy who can jump out of the gym named Obina Anachili Killen.
Whoa! Shot blocker
tonight. Yeah.
Say that, John. Say it 3 times fast, John.
I can't say it once. Obina Anachili Killen. Yeah.
Obina Anachili Killen.
Yes. That is
John
true.
Kent, I'm getting criticized for the way I say shrimp. I want to know what you think about Barry's pronunciation of that guy.
It's shrimp, John. It's scrimps, John.
It's shrimp.
It's got it's got a K in it.
It does. You're right. Shrimp.
The world is abuzz. It seems like the entire globe is abuzz with what's going to be going down on Saturday afternoon, 3:00 at Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa. Auburn, number 2, Alabama. Do you like that matchup? As far as the matchup goes, the on the court Jimmys and Joes?
Yeah, I like it for actually both teams. I was thinking about last night as I was texting John what games to pick up later. That
what about that finish last night? Double overtime?
Texas Tech, Arizona State?
Woo! Yes. Big time.
Thank you for that one. Yes.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you can kind of see some of these games trending when they're moving in that direction. In like the last 2 or 3 weeks, St. John's Villanova was great last night.
Yeah.
But everybody in the nation has got their eyes on Tuscaloosa this weekend. A lot of people feel like these are the best 2 teams in the country. I'm kind of at the point now to where I really think it's a 3-tier team deal with a little gap between A&M, Ole Miss, Kentucky, some of those teams. But it's Auburn, Alabama, and Florida to me. And I'm not going to put Tennessee in there just yet. I know I probably should, so they may elevate. But when it comes to Auburn and Alabama, John, you may not like this, but I like the Tide this weekend at home. And I'll tell you why. Alabama they're not consistently every game making shots. All right. They made 5 threes against Arkansas, and they made 17 in their last game on the road, right? That's a lot of 3-pointers. But it's trending to where they're shooting it a lot better. Guys, I'll take Alabama's guards in this matchup today or Saturday over Auburn's guards. I think Auburn's guards are excellent, but I do feel like at home the seniority of Mark Sears is greater than the seniority of Denver Jones, if that makes sense in a game like this. And I just feel like Youngblood is an X factor. The X factors in this game, Baker Mazzara, Youngblood for Alabama, Kelly making shots for Auburn. Auburn's going to have to make threes to win this game. 2 things. Auburn's got to be careful. They are vulnerable on the offensive glass. We saw that against Florida. We've seen it against other teams, Mississippi State at times. Alabama can't turn it over. Even though they hit 17 threes the other night, they had just as many turnovers. Auburn will turn you over. They're going to be up in Alabama. And the last point I'll make here that is huge in this game always, Alabama leads the conference in free throw makes. Auburn's got to play without fouling and play without that
Yeah.
emotion taking over to where it turns into runs for Alabama and you get the crowd into it.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Wow, so many things I want to ask you, and that was a great breakdown. Where do I start? Turnovers. I got to start there. Alabama's turned the ball over a lot. How do they stop that? Because it's been a trend all year.
I think you have to shorten the passing lanes a little bit, John. When they're getting in trouble, it's when they're dribble driving in a lot of times, and then they're trying to pitch across the defense, whether that be to find a three-point shooter. Again, Alabama's guards as a whole, even though I like them a lot, they're not that big, especially Mark Sears. He can get himself down, and they over-penetrate too much, and then they try to get themselves out of that trouble by pitching it here, pitching it there. And the defenses in this league, especially Auburn, can really recover and close out and get in passing lanes. But it's just handling the basketball, taking care of the basketball, and just being more urgent about that next pass. Take an extra sweep and step through and shorten passing lanes if you're Alabama. Because I think Auburn's going to guard Alabama straight up and say, just beat us. I don't think you're going to see a lot of help. I think Bruce is going to really make this a mano-a-mano type game in every individual possession. And then one other thing that Auburn will do that I really think Alabama needs to be careful of, on the out-unders, Auburn forces, not only did the Auburn score on out-unders on offense and on sideline out of bounds, they also turn you over and get 5-second counts. Alabama's been vulnerable to that at times if you've watched them all year. And I just feel like here, though, I just feel like Alabama has been under the radar. I think Nate Oates is going to play that up. And this is a rivalry game. It's the Ibaba basketball, and I expect the home team to win the first one. That's just how I feel about it.
I want to ask you your opinion on this. Our resident bracketologist here with Longstreet McKnight is Jerry Palm, CBSSports.com. He's got Auburn as obviously a number one seed. They go in the South region of Lexington. Alabama, a number one seed. They'll open in Lexington, according to this. Duke is the other one seed with Tennessee. I'm not getting Tennessee. I saw their game against Kentucky, and, after the big start, you have been kind of a closet Gator about their basketball program. Why Tennessee instead of Florida, I wonder?
Well, I think it's one, they've been up there all year and they've been winning. I mean, it's they blew Florida out, number one, at home without their point guard. And that's when I actually think got Tennessee going, because Tennessee had been sometimes like Alabama, caught looking at Ziegler dribbling the basketball, and the other guys kind of just waiting on him to initiate the offense, unless you're pitching it to Chaz Lanier. Meshack's not going to go score buckets for you unless it's offensive glass or standing threes or in transition.
Just
so you got, I mean, Cade Phillips is not going to post up in the middle and really score on anybody in the post, but he's going to go dunk on you, get rebounds, and finish ball screens. But for me, if you look at those two Kentucky games, guys, Kentucky is not great defensively, even with Lamont Butler in the lineup like he was against Tennessee. But I just am not sold that on a 2-3 game stretch, Tennessee is going to be able to make enough shots when you play teams like a SEC tournament. If you catch a Kentucky, you catch a Alabama, you catch a Missouri, you catch a Auburn, who can shoot all these threes, Florida, and score more points than you, I think Tennessee offensively needs one more guy, Barry, to be able to just go get his every night with Lanier and Ziegler. It's been collective, but I think Florida's roster, Auburn's roster, Alabama's roster, all three of those offensively are greater than Tennessee, and that's why I would have Tennessee just a little bit below them. At the same time, Tennessee's still a 2-3 seed somewhere, but if Tennessee catches a 7 seed Creighton in the NCAA tournament, I mean, I don't think anybody would be surprised if Creighton came the way they're playing and turned around and won that game. So that's just kind of an example of Tennessee in their brackets. If they get matched up in the NCAA tournament with a bunch of offensive-minded teams that can score the basketball and spread you out and take away that pressure, I think Tennessee's the most vulnerable teams of those teams you mentioned.
I agree.
Some basketball experts out there, Bart, other than you, obviously being a basketball expert, which we certainly praise here on this program, say the SEC is going to get 13 teams in the tournament. Are you buying that?
12. I think there'll have to be someone that falls, and right now I don't know who it is. My Mississippi State Bulldogs are trending down, and that schedule is tough. And there's only two guys. Go ahead, Barry.
Jerry's got Mississippi State projected as a 6 seed in Cleveland against the Drake Bulldogs. That feels comfortable, Bart.
It feels extremely comfortable, and that's why I'm saying it would have to be like a monumental collapse. But look at this league, guys, and look at who all you got to play. And so once you start going down that mode, like a South Carolina, like a Missouri last year, of where you can't, and State's not in there. State's got 5 wins, but who are those wins against in the league? You know, the Vandy win on the road's good. The South Carolina win on the road's good. The Georgia win on the road's good. The Ole Miss win at home is good. But when you start seeing those higher upper echelon teams, you need to beat at least a couple of them to stay in that 6 line. I don't think State's in trouble as far as the tournament goes, but I would like to see them start playing better and get more offensively consistently out of guys instead of just Hubbard and Keyshawn Murphy. The last 3 or 4 games, that's all it's been. But at the bottom of the SEC, it's going to be Texas. Okay, Texas is going to be one of those teams. Oklahoma is going to be one of those teams. Georgia. Those 3 teams. One of those 3 teams is not going to make the NCAA tournament. And that's where I think it falls into being 12. Don't know which one it's going to be. If you look at their resumes. Guys, I heard this yesterday. This is amazing to me. Mark Wise was on our show. The SEC, the 13 toughest schedules in the nation lie in the SEC.
Whoa,
the 13 toughest, 1 through 13, with number 14 being UCF, who's got a couple of SEC teams on their slate as well. So the thing is, the losses, they ain't hurting you nearly as bad as they used to hurt you on the national level. They hurt you for seeding. They hurt you for morale. They hurt you with your fan base. But you see, State's lost, 3 out of 4, and you're still a 6 seed. So that shows you the power of the conference.
Man, no kidding. All right, Bart, we've talked about this subject a lot with you. I asked it earlier today. What type of game needs to be called from the official standpoint? Let them play or ticky-tack fouls in the Auburn-Alabama game? How does it need to be called, and what team benefits from the way it is called?
That's a really good point, John, because that's going to dictate. We mentioned earlier Alabama shooting free throws and how many they can. He likes that, don't he, Barry? When I say that. Boy, he's just busy. He almost jumped in that nice truck behind him.
I may have to finish this show by myself. John's going to be out there taking a victory lap.
I know. So out there on South Boulevard, East Boulevard. Hey, which one is it, John?
We're actually in Prattville today.
Oh, in Prattville. All right. Well, then get out on 65 out there. But to me, it's like. Bruce Pearl, listen, I read his lips, or actually I think it was in a timeout when they played Florida, and the camera went over to the huddle and you could hear him talking to his team. And he said, guys, in big games like this, they're going to let you play and they're not going to call a lot of fouls and it's going to be extremely physical. That Florida game was. Auburn had a hard time with the Florida bigs, being able to score over them. Even Broom, when he got really nice moves close to the basket, the physicality hurts Auburn, I think, more so than it hurts Alabama. And what I mean by that is Auburn is so reliant on Broom and Chaney Johnson and even Caldwell at times, but really those in the post is where the physicality, I think, really shows up. If Janai Broom shoots 10 free throws this game, if Chaney Johnson shoots 8 free throws this game, if it's called touchy, that's going to benefit Auburn. If this game is more physical, I feel like it's going to come down to guard play. Who can take care of the basketball? Who can get to the free throw line? And at home, guys, this is still Mark Sears. This is Mark Sears playing Auburn at home for the last time. That is not going to go unnoticed by anybody. And I'll tell you who else shows up big in this game, because I think in a physical game, there is one guy on the perimeter, 2 somewhat, but one guy who anytime he wants to can go get his, and you're seeing him come along. You've heard LeBaron Philon.
LeBaron
Philon. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize this. Auburn was the lead dog in that race when Wes Flanagan was still the coach at Auburn. A lot of people don't know that. I watched him at every single game Philon played in the high school, talking to him, recruiting him during that time. I think there's going to be a little want to by Philon in this one to show he was the player of the year in the state of Alabama that left, and now he's back, wanted to go to Alabama. And I feel like this game has trended toward Bama. I think it will be physical, but I do feel like Alabama will find a way, and I think they'll call it physical, to your point, John. I don't want to see the ticky-tacks in this game. I don't want to see both teams shooting 25, having 25 free throw makes. That discrepancy in that free throw and how the game is called, to your point, John, is a huge, huge deal in this game. I like Alabama at home, though, because I think you're going to get more of those calls at home than you're not.
I was talking to an Alabama fan yesterday, and he was saying that the ultimate fan experience for Alabama fans would be for it to come down the stretch. Alabama's got the last possession down to shot clock dark, and Aiden Holloway hits a three at the horn.
Wait a minute.
To beat his former team.
Wait a minute. Are you
We may have the same
characterizing me
friend.
as an Alabama friend? I think I said that same thing on the show yesterday. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
John, I don't consider you an Alabama fan. I consider you a logical Alabama fan.
Right down the middle. Mr. Fence Rider himself.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, I love them both. You kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Power
earlier
alley.
this week, Bart, earlier this week on the show, I gave our audience one of their favorites. Wiggle, wiggle, war damn eagle, kick him in the butt, big blue. Hey,
track them Tigers, just like the Eagles. Give them hell, you war damn Eagles.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You guys, this is bordering on a little creepy. Now we're gonna cut this off. Bart Heish, appreciate you very much, man. Thanks for everything.
Hey, so where are you going to be tonight? Where can we watch you?
I'm on ESPN Plus, South Alabama. Marshall, I'll also have South Alabama this weekend. And then starting a week from Monday, I'll be in the booth all week in Birmingham at Legacy. Kevin Skarbinski and I, we got a booth. We might even be adding a sideline reporter. We're working on that. Not sure yet. So that could be something really cool.
How old is she?
She is 30-something-ish, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
there you go.
We'll see. She'd like that.
Thank you much, Bart.
Awesome, Bart. Thank you, buddy. Bart Heish, man, he's always a highlight each and every week on the program here. Be in Birmingham for the state tournament next week. We might have to juggle Bart's schedule next week. We'll see how that plays out.
He'll be a happy man.
He likes Alabama, Barry. If you watched CBS 8 last night, I know you did. I actually made a prediction on the game. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, Barry, I like Auburn in this game. I've been saying it all year. Well, I know we're going to talk about it a lot tomorrow and break it more down. But now that Bart's mentioned it, and I mentioned it last night on TV. I've said since November, I think Auburn's the best team in the country. I mean, they have impressed me since day one. I just don't see the lapses in their game that I've seen with Alabama throughout the year, and they don't turn the ball over like Alabama does. And I know playing at home's a big deal, but I just think when it's said and done, I got to go with the team I think is better, and I think Auburn's better.
Well, if you say that on TV, does that make it a TV opinion? I think by definition, that's what it is. Well, when we come back, not only we wrap up the show because we took care of the Daily Dog. We took care of Bart Heish. Now when we come back, we're going to take care of everything you need to know about the wonderful vehicles they've got at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, where John is situated right now in Prattville, Alabama, in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, let's start 2025 off on the right foot at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where you can get a 2024 Ford Bronco up to $10,000 off MSRP as low as $34,990. What about the popular Ford Escape? Well, you can get one as low as $24,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. You know, the Ford Explorer is what started the SUV craze back in the early 80s, and it's still going strong today. You can save up to $8,000 off MSRP as low as $33,990 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. But I know what you're asking me. John, what about the popular F-150, America's best-selling pickup for over 50 years in a row? Well, you can get a 2024 F-150 Crew Cab at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP, plus no payments for 90 days. And they've got plenty to choose from. I've never seen as many cars and trucks on the ground at Stivers as they've got there today. Go by and see for yourself. 4000 Eastern Boulevard, Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars and trucks. Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Hey, back at it here. A couple of minutes to go on the Thursday edition of Longshore and McKnight. Remember, you can always check it out on Spotify. It's looping on YouTube and Yellowhammer News. You can check it out. We've got Instagram posts, Facebook, X, all over the place. Tell your friends, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We really, really appreciate it. I'm here live at Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Prattville, Alabama, and the February savings event continues all month long. What about the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the Jeep Sierra, up to $17,000 off, or 0% for 72 months, and so many to choose from. You need something a little heavy duty when it comes to the Ram truck lineup. The Ram 25 and 3500s at $17,000 off. And what about a 2025 Ram Laramie edition, up to $25,000 off, or 4.9% APR for 72 months.
So you pointed that out, that last one, that Laramie, out several times during the broadcast, and it still makes me shake my head. How can they do that? Oh, a Laramie?
Yes, sir.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable value.
Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Alabama and Northwest Florida's largest volume Ram dealer. All right, Barry, here we go again. You can count on it like, the sun coming up. We got an article today. I don't know who this guy is. Roy Johnson, AL.com. Time for Alabama and Auburn to start spending their millions at home. I didn't even have to read it because I knew what it was about. When are you guys going to play UAB? When are you going to keep some of that money you're making in state? I don't want to hear it. Don't want it. Not it. I'd like for Roy to take a poll. I want you to poll Alabama fans and poll Auburn fans. Do you want to play UAB? Do you want to play Troy? Do you want to play Jackson State? Do you want to play South Alabama? And I want to see what the fans have to say, because the people I know, they have no desire to play any of those teams.
What is it? I mean, aren't two campuses like brethren? I mean, aren't they?
No.
The same family, the same tree, and all that kind of stuff. But man, you talk to an Alabama fan about Tennessee, hate them, hate their guts. The Aubs can't stand them. My gosh, they're beneath this and everything. But you talk to them about little old UAB, and they don't even want it to know. No.
Did you hear, or have you heard of what happened many, many, many years ago when Wimp thought the mic was turned off and he said something about Gene Bartow? Right then and there, you say, "Oh, ain't playing them. Wimp doesn't like them."
Yeah. Alabama, according to Roy Johnson, Alabama hasn't met its sibling from Birmingham on the court in 32 years.
It's been great.
In the 1993 NIT first round in Tuscaloosa, the UAB Blazers had the audacity to beat Alabama at Coleman Coliseum by 2, and they've never met otherwise.
Nope.
Auburn hasn't played UAB in 6 years. Alabama has never played UAB in football.
And they're not going to.
And Auburn has only played them once. That was in '96. I was actually at that game. Now, he brings this up. He says UAB, their basketball team is at least showing a pulse. They're 15-9 and in third place in the school's second season in the American Conference. That is the only sign of life for an athletic program desperately due a leadership transplant. So it's not as though Roy is, sis boom ba for UAB. He says the athletic department desperately is due a leadership transplant. The basketball team is the only sign of life in that athletic department. That's John's point. Alabama doesn't need to be over there with the 2 defibrillator paddles. They don't need to be over there with the Heimlich maneuver or with CPR and stuff. Let somebody else save them. That's his whole point.
Yeah, that's UAB's problem. It ain't Alabama's problem. They're not there to help everybody else out. Who was helping Alabama out, in the early 1900s? Nobody. They had to help themselves out. So
they're their own bootstraps.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that stuff. And you know what? David Hobbs was pretty smart one year when he said, NIT, I don't think so. We're out. If he'd have done that when that year when he got beat by UAB, maybe he'd have lasted a little bit longer. You don't play UAB, Dave. Don't do it.
Dadgum sure don't lose them. Well, lose tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. You talk about 2 vastly different levels of civilization. Ooh. John is going to be doing this show from the nation's capital. I'm going to be doing this show from the heartland of northeastern Arkansas in Jonesboro. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow ought to be pretty good. It really should.
Ought to be pretty good, Barry. We're going to be breaking down and getting your thoughts and predictions on the big game in Tuscaloosa Saturday afternoon. We're going to talk a lot about that tomorrow on the program. We're going to spin that Victoryland 777 topic wheel. The Phantom's Daily Dog. We'll get into that tomorrow as well. Never know what special guest might show up. Hey, you never know. Trump does like to be interviewed. Just saying.
Bring an extra microphone, or do that. That'd probably be kind of a coup. Well, it's a coup with just for us to have Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, Rodney Orr, TinerInsider.com, Bart Heish as well. John is going to be taken off in a moment from Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. You need to be heading there. I promise you.
Yep, you certainly do. Incredible deals going on throughout the month of February. Let's make your Valentine happy tomorrow with a new vehicle from Stivers Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. You can pick it up, have it in the driveway before Cupid shows up in the morning. You'll be a hit, I promise.
There you go. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.